I'm pretty sure that the cardiovascular diseases are the single biggest killer.
Yes.
Still.
Cardiovascular in the West, we're talking about, so in developed countries. Catching up, I'm afraid, in other parts of the world where they adopt more Western lifestyles. But that's a combination of food and poor low level of exercise that we're putting our finger on there. There's also cardiovascular disease is another form of long-term inflammation. And increasingly that's been understood. It's not just fat or cholesterol or blood pressure. It's an inflammatory mechanism going on that's causing the harm. And that's increasingly accepted by cardiologists and such.
So if I'm trying to reduce my chances of having some kind of heart-related issue, are there any herbs or any products here that you think are beneficial?
Mostly it's the food when we're talking about long-term cardiovascular health. We have plants that we use to manage cardiac or cardiovascular problems. I mean, the classic that a lot of people know about is the hawthorn or the mayflower. But the hawthorn, particularly the flower and the leaf, used to be a regular home remedy that people used to use and drink as a tea for all sorts of reasons, managing fevers and all sorts of things like that. But we can now see regular hawthorn leaf consumption as a preventative for some of the problems of cardiovascular. Just as an example, I would use spices as my main go-to to help to fend off cardiovascular problems because they all have vascular benefits.
Spices as in
the ginger, the cinnamon we talked about. But here's turmeric, and this is something we don't usually see in. But if you can see, in fact, if you cut that with your knife there.
I've just cut it open.
Yeah, you'll see it's bright. Yeah, it's bright orange. That's the curcumin that people use as a supplement.
I've got curcumin at home. I was advised to use that when I pulled the ligaments of my ankle.
Yes.
It's an anti-inflammatory, isn't it?
You can see a little bit why I don't like using anti-inflammatory, because I like inflammation as a friend. Mm-hmm. So what I prefer to talk about is they modulate or support or manage inflammation. But turmeric is an extraordinary remedy. And here's an interesting story. We talk about we need curcumin from turmeric, and you'll get a supplement saying, my turmeric's got more curcumin than yours and it's more available. The interesting point is that curcumin is not absorbed into the body at all, about 1 or 2% maybe. The rest stays stubbornly in the gut. And there's a very good reason for that, because in any high dose, curcumin is toxic. So there's a good reason for it staying in the gut. But there's a lot of work on making it more bioavailable, getting the levels up in the blood. And if you add pepper, you might get from 1 or 2% to 2 to 3%, but it's still small beer compared with the amount of turmeric that we take, the amounts of curcumin that we take in an ordinary curry. So what's going on, and what is going on, is that curcumin in turmeric is one of the best remedies we have for microbiome. There's a conversation going on. The turmeric is encouraging the good guys. The good guys are breaking turmeric and curcumin down into more available materials, which are active. It belongs in the gut, and its inflammatory modulating effects come mostly from the products of the microbiome working on the curcumin and moving through the body that way. So it's a wonderful lesson in, that the medicine actually relies, in this case, almost entirely on a good microbiome, an effect that is reduced, by the way, if you have a lot of antibiotics.
Okay, so my microbiome is really the processing center for many of these things. And if I have a bad gut microbiome because I've been eating the wrong foods and I haven't had diversity of plants, then even if I take some of these herbs that are good for me, I won't be able to process them properly anyway.
Not as well as you might. Yes, that is true. We talk about, we got probiotics, which is the yogurts and the kimchis and the kefirs and so on, which are actually living organisms. They have to get through the stomach